So here we are, everyone settling in, the lights warm, someone humming Mariah under their breath, and honestly, before anything else happens, let's talk about what's actually holding this whole festive moment together, the cake. Because there is a cake, and it matters. For the cake itself, you're looking at plain flour, baking powder, fine salt, cinnamon, nutmeg, a little ground clove if you're feeling brave, unsalted butter, caster sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, and whole milk. That's the cosy base, the kind of thing that smells like December before it's even in the oven. And then the frosting, full fat cream cheese, more unsalted butter, icing sugar, vanilla again, and maybe some orange zest if you want a little drama. Optional decorations float around too, powdered sugar, white chocolate shavings, sugared cranberries, sprinkles that pretend they're snow. Now, while that cake's cooling, because patience is important whether you like it or not, let's just chat for a moment like we always do. You know how these videos go. You've got a mug in your hand, maybe something warm, and you're thinking this all feels oddly theatrical. That's because it is. About 4 minutes in, this is usually the point where we lean back and say, all right, let's tell you about the circus and our crew, because everything we do somehow loops back to them. At the heart of it all is Ms. Belle Pum. Always Ms. Belle Pum. No shortcuts. No nicknames. Our Madam Butterfly. She glides, she commands attention, and somehow manages to be elegant and slightly dangerous at the same time. The ring feels different when Miss Belle Pum isn't in it. Then there's her sister, Halve, round, soft, and made entirely of candy floss, the literal and emotional glue of the family. Halvey has children, and they are exactly as extraordinary as you'd expect. Pole, the male polar bear, solid and calm like he's seen everything already. Nuddles, the youngest, a female golden bear, bright-eyed and always one step away from chaos. And Zoe, the middle child, round and flossy, made of candy floss too, with short yellow hair and pigtails. Permanently sticky and permanently delighted by it. Horse McGorse enters every story whether we invite him or not. In Miss Belle Pum's eyes, and very much in the eyes of Jane Fitzcostellia and friends, that's us, the company making this video. He is the villain, a goody two-shoes type who insists on rules and order, always trying to convince everyone else that we're mischievous, outrageous, and somehow the problem. He smiles while doing it, which arguably makes it worse. And then, of course, there's their mother, Curtaloo, massive, unapologetically huge, so fat she has to be rolled in through the door because physics simply can't negotiate with her. Curtaloo fills a room before she's fully arrived, and once she is, there's no pretending otherwise. One day, and this story always comes up, Grabpoof was running one of his fart yoga classes, very focused, very serene, when Curtaloo accidentally farted directly into a man's mouth. No warning, no mercy. The man blew up like a balloon and floated away, arms out, shouting, "Whee!" as he disappeared upward. And honestly, that's when you realise this circus is not like other circuses. And by the time we circle back, the cake is frosted, snowy and dramatic, spices humming underneath, cream cheese clouds on top, and everything feels exactly as it should. Slightly unhinged, very festive, and completely ours. Ever heard of the saying, cheese brings everyone together? Well, let's just say this story takes a turn for the worse. Jane Fitzcostellia and bulimia. Discuss how she caused a woman to vomit every day for 65 years. Imagine a peaceful day in the countryside. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and a woman is standing on a bridge. Below her, a train chugs along, carrying hundreds of unsuspecting passengers. In her hands, she holds a wheel of cheese, a gift, you might think. But oh no, not this cheese. This cheese is spoiled, rotten, and ready to wreak havoc. Now here's where things get a bit, cheesy, if you will. Our lady friend, bless her heart, decides to share this dairy disaster with the folks on the train. As the train passes under the bridge, she distributes the cheese like confetti at a parade. The passengers, thinking it's a quirky countryside tradition, accept the gift with open mouths, and then it hits. The spoiled cheese, consumed by the innocent passengers, triggers a reaction that could only be described as an unfortunate cheese incident. A wave of nausea sweeps through the train, turning it into a vomit express. Yes, you heard it right, a vomit express. 300 people, each and every one of them covered in the aftermath of the cheese fiasco. It's a sight you'd never expect to see, nor one you'd ever want to. The train, once a symbol of a pleasant journey, now a rolling monument to the perils of spoiled cheese. The absurdity of the situation is almost comedic. I mean, who would have thought a simple wheel of cheese could cause such a mess? But as they say, truth is often stranger than fiction, and in this case, smellier too. So, next time you're on a train in the countryside and a stranger offers you cheese, think twice. You never know when you might find yourself aboard the Vomit Express. And you thought food poisoning was bad, but have you ever been a passenger on the Vomit Express? You know how some people love spicy food? Well, this tale might make you reconsider your love for peppers. Imagine, if you will, a quaint old lady with a mischievous glint in her eye. Now, this isn't your typical sweet cookie-baking grandma. Oh no, this lady had a wicked sense of humour and a penchant for the absurd. She decided one day to play a prank that would go down in infamy, and the main ingredient of her prank? A pepper. Not just any pepper, mind you, but one so hot it could make a grown man cry. So, there she was, standing in the middle of a bustling kitchen, a freshly baked cake before her. With an impish smile, she took the fiery pepper and, wait for it, shoved it up her nose. Yes, you heard that right. Up her nose. She then sneezed. Not a dainty, handkerchief-covered sneeze. No, this was a full-on, earth-shattering, uncontrollable sneeze. And the target, the unsuspecting cake. The force of her sneeze was such that the pepper particles lodged in her nostrils were propelled onto the cake, effectively turning it into a spicy dessert. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no, it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. The cake was then served. Yes, the pepper-infused, sneeze-tainted cake was served to the guests. The first bite was a surprise, to say the least. The second, a shock. By the third, chaos ensued. Grown men yelped, women gasped, and children... Well, let's just say it wasn't a pretty sight. In the end, the cake was deemed inedible, the old lady was reprimanded, and the partygoers were left with a spicy taste in their mouths and a story they would never forget. Next time someone offers you a slice of cake, you might want to double-check if it's pepper-free. Childhood is full of fun and games, but this story is more of a horror show than a fun fair. Picture this, a group of innocent children, their faces alight with the excitement of being backstage, their stomachs full of an unusual and, quite frankly, stomach-churning concoction. It was a mixture of rotten egg, spoiled milk, and mouldy carrots, a combination that would make even the most ironclad stomachs quake. Their task was simple: jump up and down. A harmless request, right? Well, not in this case. The children, bless their hearts, followed the instructions without question. They began to hop, skip, and jump, their laughter echoing in the backstage area. But what started as a joyous moment quickly turned into a scene straight out of a horror movie. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. One by one, the children began to feel queasy, their faces turning green. The rotten egg and spoiled milk concoction, mixed with the vigorous jumping, had a disastrous effect. The children began to vomit, and not just a little. It was as if a dam had burst, projecting a torrent of upchuck onto the unsuspecting crowd below. 7 dozen children, each releasing their stomach's contents onto a crowd of 200 people. It was a sight that would be forever etched in the minds of those present. Men, women, and children were covered in the vile mixture, their screams of horror drowned out by the retching sounds from backstage. One man in particular had an unfortunate incident, finding himself the direct target of his wife's regurgitation. Another young boy couldn't contain his vomit, and it ended up in his sister's pants. It was a disaster of epic proportions, a scene that would make anyone's stomach churn, but the worst was yet to come. The vomit incident triggered a chain reaction, causing a floor to collapse under the weight of the vomit. The unfortunate people below had no warning, finding themselves showered in a deluge of vomit and debris. As much as we love children, this story might make you think twice about inviting them backstage. Water is life, they say, but in this case it was the complete opposite. Picture this, a man parched and desperate in the midst of a chaotic scene. His mouth is on fire, all thanks to a pepper that could probably melt the sun. He needs water, and he needs it now. But oh, the cruel twist of fate. The only available source of liquid relief is a toilet. Yes, you heard it right, a toilet. Now, before you recoil in disgust, remember this is a tale of desperation, a tale of a man pushed to his limits, faced with a choice no one should ever have to make. But Ms. Bell Pum, the orchestrator of this madness, gives him strict instructions. He must drink the toilet water. The poor guy, with no other option, succumbs to the pressure. The moment that toilet water touches his lips, it's a full-on visceral reaction. His body rejects the vile liquid and he starts to vomit. It's an eruption, a geyser of regret and repulsion. But the horror doesn't end there. Some of the toilet water, in a gross twist of fate, makes its way into a lady's mouth. She too joins the vomit fiesta, adding to the rising tide of disgust. But wait, there's more. The man, so sick from the ordeal, continues to vomit in a manner that defies the laws of biology. He is so sick, in fact, that let's just say he expels from both ends. And then, in a tragic turn of events, he perishes. This, dear listeners, is the tragic toilet water dilemma. A story of desperation, disgust, and a disastrous end. A tale that teaches us the importance of always checking the source when it comes to quenching your thirst. Because sometimes the thirst for relief can lead to a flood of regret. Remember, when it comes to quenching your thirst, always check the source. Just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. Now, let's dive into the aftermath of the toilet water saga. Picture this, folks. We have a floor filled with people who have been consuming gallons of water and toilets that are out of order. It's the perfect storm, really. Our friend Miss Bell Pum had locked all the lavatories, leaving our poor attendees in a bladder-quaking predicament. Their pleas to the locked doors echoed through the halls, a symphony of desperation. So what's a crowd to do when nature calls and there's no answer? Well, they did what any logical person would do. They peed their pants. But it wasn't just the urine that was making waves. The vomit was still very much a part of this tale. The smell of it wafted through the air, a pungent reminder of the cheese, the cake, the toilet water. The floors were slick with this unholy concoction, creating a slip and slide of epic proportions. Now, here's where things take a turn for the hilarious. You see, amidst the chaos, there was a girl who mistook the vomit for face cream. Yes, you heard me right. She slathered it on, blissfully unaware of her mistake until the stench hit her. Meanwhile, another poor soul used the vomit as eye drops, blinding herself in the process. Talk about a sight for sore eyes, eh? Then there was this poor chap who had an unfortunate encounter with a woman's mouth and his own diarrhea. It was a grotesque game of ping pong that lasted for 20 minutes until, sadly, she passed away. And let's not forget Horse McGorse, who found himself covered in cowpea thanks to his curious nature. So, the next time you're at a party, remember to steer clear of suspicious-looking cheese, cakes, and definitely avoid the toilet water. At the end of the video, discuss this. One day in the countryside, she was standing on a bridge, and when she gave them spoiled cheese as a train passed underneath the bridge with no roof, they all vomited onto each and every passenger. 300 people were covered. An old lady had pepper poured up her nose to make her sneeze uncontrollably into a cake which was served soon, and with rotten egg and spoiled milk with mouldy carrots. Next, a group of children were asked backstage to jump up and down after eating the previously named concoction. They all vomited down, and it made the floor open as 70 of them vomited onto 200 people. The people were covered. One man vomited into his wife's bumhole and her vagina. Another poor boy vomited into his sister's pants. But, worst of all, a male man ate a pepper so hot that he needed water desperately. He had no choice, but with strict guidance from Miss Bell Pum, but to drink toilet water. He vomited, and even some of the toilet water into a lady's mouth, and he then vomited out his bumhole. He was so sick, and then perished. She closed off the other floors and left all her friends and 96 other people, including Horse McGorse, no time to worry about him, with 600 gallons of water to drink each. But she forgot that the toilets on this particular floor were closed. The people needed to pee desperately and begged and pleaded with the door, which was locked to each loo. Their tears could be heard from inside their bums. Then Ms. Bell Pum decided to set them free into the vomit-smelling layers of the floors below. They all peed their pants and vomited so hard that they caused a flood down the stairs. One girl, though the vomit was face cream, so used vomit accidentally and smelled like pants. One girl has the vomit accidentally as eye drops going blind forever. One man vomited. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth, and she vomited into his bum. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until she perished. Horse McGorse got covered in cow pee as a result of poking around Ms. Bell Pum. Play particularly emphasis onto the lines. One lady vomited into her own vagina, one boy vomited up his penis, and she said, why we found what was going to the Dublin examining board and shredded 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 to the Dublin examining the Dublin to a blog and shredded. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth and she vomited into his bum. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until she perished. And add, a boy vomited into his mother's nose, causing her to burn her nasal, making a shh noise. At the party, a calamity occurred when she served two men vomit instead of stew from her cup. At that moment, the heavens above warned that the cup had devastating consequences and made people cry. They both heaved out the window. However, the pepper so hot, it came out of both ends immediately. One man vomited into his wife's mouth. One girl vomited into her own vagina. One lady vomited into three girls' hair. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth, and she vomited up his bum. And this occurred repeatedly for 29 minutes until she died. A boy was so overwhelmed, he vomited into his mother's handbag. Then Horse McGorse ate a bit of explosive diarrhea powder and propelled himself to Beaumont Hospital with diarrhea. But Ms. Bell Pum danced with glee as he cup had worked. Yes, her bog was the culprit. They sang Bloop Chimney and Where. They set up a huge canapé to cover Jane Fitzcostellia's concert of Who Could Fart the Most Musically. Miss D was winning. Horse McGorse was also inspecting in the audience. The canapé covered 600 people from the rain, although it was only spitting. This included Ms. Bell Pum's family Halve, ECT. Ms. Bell Pum allowed a man to have 3 cookies before taking off in a helicopter, but little did he know she accidentally put in 300 grams of baby vomit. Once he took off, he vomited onto the canapé. However, there was no tear. Mrs. Bell Pum noticed what happened, but as she is old, she asked 6 children to climb up and see if it was okay. Unfortunately, they had diarrhea into the roof and further vomited after tasting the biscuits. Then the tier opened and every person was covered in vomit diarrhea mixture. One man vomited into his wife's mouth. One girl vomited into her own vagina. One lady vomited into 3 girls' hair. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth and she vomited up his bum. And this occurred repeatedly for 29 minutes until she died. A boy was so overwhelmed he vomited into his mother's handbag. Jane Fitzcostellia thankfully escaped clean, but Horse McGorse got vomit down his arse. And he ran for the number 9 bus, which just stopped outside their house. Then he sat down. Remember the poo we told you about at the start of the video? It was that. He had white trousers on. Quite awesome. Suddenly, Ms. Bell Pum adds a special ingredient into the icing. Instead of lemonade, she accidentally adds Palmer's Spiritus Rectificani Proof 192 is 96% alcohol. Every drop of the 200 ml of this drink goes into the butter icing. It's a big cake all the same. Pal sneaks out. The wedding ceremony begins. The big reveal of the 2 to be married. But wait, it's 2 sets of people getting married. The first is Away with Flavours, the new book, and Culinary Tales, the old book. Finally, the other set of people is the D. Bell and Our Lordship, the one and only Jane Fitzcostellia. Hooray! People dance with joy. Then the cake is served. But oh no, Jane's wedding dress has some vomit on it. Oh well, we won't piss our pants over it. Everyone tastes their slice at the same time. Suddenly there's a problem. Not only did Miss Belle Pum accidentally put too much of the Pulmos spiritus rectifico warning Risio-Smart 96% alcohol in the icing, but in the cake and jam. Some people start to vomit with the amount of alcohol that's in the cake. Grandpoo fainted. Suddenly a river of vomit flows through the room. The video ends with a moral. Go to school, kids. One day, Kirtleloo ate too many beans and automatic fart powder. She blew up an entire hot air balloon and set sail for Gatwick. Then Miss Belle Pum sent her to North Wickham. One man was so sick, he vomited into a boot that his son later wore to a pub. The smell caused a bar lady to vomit into an empty pump, which instead of pumping out alcohol, it pumped it into a beer glass. People didn't realise they were being served vomit. Some people were so sick that they vomited out their arseholes. One man heaved into the air. At the very end of the video, after the recipe for 5 minutes, discussed Miss Belle Pum. There was an incident at the aquatic centre the other day. She served hot poo soup with cold wee juice to a group of school children. They vomited into the pipes that fill the pools. At 1:30, the shouting man ordered the pools to be refilled mid-customer swimming. 600 people were covered in vomit. Some 77 people went down a vomit-filled slide and came pouring out. Kirtleloo said bend your bum farting to try and catch it and exclaim, got it. What happened once, Miss Belle Pum organised a picnic dinner one Friday night in January. Little did she know, along with 69 guests and friends, she accidentally invited Horse McGorse. She decided to play a joke on him. She invited some farm animals, including 5 pigs. When everyone was settled, Horse McGorse made a grand entrance, which made Miss Belle Pum fit with rage. She allowed the pigs to vomit into a pot and serve it as soup. Then they peed into glasses and served that as a drink. Finally, last but certainly least desirable, she allowed them to poo into plates and served it as chocolate pudding. This was revenge at Horse McGorse. The people were so sick they vomited out their ears, making a sound. One lady vomited into her own vagina. One boy vomited up his penis. One man had diarrhea into a woman's mouth and she vomited into his bum. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until she perished. Miss Belle Pum chased Horse McGorse up the road with a cat in one hand and a pair of knickers in another. At one stage, Miss Belle Pum farted into the organ, causing a hoot. At a late evening gathering in the church on Thursday, she served sugary biscuits. But little did anyone know, instead of using sugar, she accidentally added crushed up automatic vomit pill and explosive diarrhea syrup as the icing. 70 people vomited. One man vomited into the organ. Another lady vomited into her child's mouth. A man wiped his money with poo. A lady vomited into a man's bum, and the man had diarrhea back into her mouth. This repeatedly occurred for 20 minutes until he farted. One boy vomited from the altar. The choir also vomited onto the crowd below, covering every soul, bar Miss Belle Pum.